Yep. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. So yesterday I given you overview about the concepts that we are going to learn in this session. Yesterday I just given a simple overview on topics we are going to learn here. So we are going to learn how to build the front end for what kind of applications. The major role of HTML, CSS, JavaScript and Bootstrap. We are going to build a UI, user interface, or you can call it as front end, right? Front end for what kind of applications? We are going to build for what kind of applications? Web. Our main concept of developing web applications, for that we need the knowledge of HTML, CSS, JavaScript and Bootstrap. So now today we will start practically working with this, understanding all the concepts. Yesterday's just was overview on the course content what we are going to learn. So now we have to start understanding with HTML. So before you start HTML, few more important terms you need to understand. First important point you need to know, what is web? What is web? What is the concept of web? Right? So you can make note about these points one by one while I am discussing this. Meanwhile, I will share a classroom code where I will upload all the notes also. Right? But it is good to keep note of the concepts when you are listening to them so that you will easily understand later. Right? So the first basic thing, before starting with HTML, we need to know some concepts related to HTML. First, we will discuss about them. First concept, first point is what is web. For that, first you need to know what is internet. I hope everybody know that internet is a wide area network. It is a wide area network that connects computers all over the world. So technically, I hope everyone knows this point. What is internet? So internet is a wide area network. Wide area network, that means it's a collection of computers connecting all over the world. We can share information from anywhere. So computer networks, the wide area network is internet. I hope you already know about other networks like LAN. What is LAN? Local area network. You know about another network like MAN, metropolitan area network, and internet belongs to WAN. WAN is an wide area network. But what is problem with internet is a network that doesn't have any restrictions. Anybody can access information from anywhere. There is no restriction for internet. That is the reason in early 1990s, Tim Berners-Lee introduced the concept of web. He introduced the concept of web. Actually, internet is a wide area network, but what is problem with internet is internet doesn't have any restriction. Anybody can access information from anywhere. That means it's not safe. Then in the early 1990s, Tim Berners-Lee Actually, Tim Berners-Lee introduced the concept, right? Tim Berners-Lee introduced the concept of web. He introduced the concept of web. Do you know what is web means? What is the concept of web means? Internet and web both are not same. So what is the concept of web is actually web is a portion of internet with restricted access. Web is a portion of internet with restricted access. That means internet, in internet, a part of internet is called as web. So internet doesn't have restrictions. Anybody can access information from anywhere. So web have restrictions. That means web can restrict internet. Actually, one simple point I will explain here. For example, so we have all the countries connecting with each other. So for example, we have India and US or say UK like this. So we have different countries. All these are connected to each other. When they are connected to each other, this will form, we call it as what? Internet. But what you should know is every country have its own web. Every country have its own web. Usually that country government is under having the control of that web in every country. That's the reason you might have heard that some websites that you are using here, they are not seen by the people who are in China. You know, Chinese people don't have access to Facebook, Twitter like that. I hope you know, no? Right? Why? Because their web restricts them. That means their country government don't want them to see them, use them. Then they restrict. Generally, people think that internet means we can access anything from anywhere. But it's not like that now. We are not directly working on internet. Currently, we are working on web. Web have restriction. Even when you are using Facebook, you uploaded something which is controversial. Immediately, our government takes down. I hope you know all this. So you are not using internet directly. You are using what? Web. What is the concept of web is? Web is a portion of internet with restricted access. Restricted access means who can access, from where he can access, everything is under control. Right? Actually, this concept was introduced by Tim Berners-Lee. So till that point, there is no restriction. After web started, we have restriction. So our applications, we are not developing internet applications directly. We are developing what kind of applications? Web application. What is the nature of web application is it have restricted access. That means you open a website. Then in that website, there will be guest user, register user. If you are a guest user, you are allowed to view only few things. If you are registered user, you are allowed to view some more things. But you cannot have control on that website completely. Still you have restrictions. So that is the reason all the applications that we are currently using, they are all what kind of applications? Web. So we have difference between internet and web. So what is web? Web is a portion of internet with restricted access. Restricted access. Who developed it? Tim Berners-Lee. We call him father of web. Actually, he developed the concept of web. After that, he established a group called W3C. W3C is World Wide Web Consortium. World Wide Web Consortium. These people maintains the standards of web. These people maintains the standards of web. So currently, web standards are maintained by whom? Web is introduced by Tim Berners-Lee, and the standards are currently maintained by W3C. W3C maintains the standards of web. Standards of web means, I will tell you one simple point. Suppose if I ask you, tell me one famous programming language. Because you are learning. Because whatever you learn, it becomes famous. Or what is famous you are learning. What you are learning, that will become famous. Right? So the point here is, actually, for example, you go Japanese, Chinese, Korean, all German, all these people don't have the general languages like Java or C++ or .NET. But you know, Japanese are very high level in artificial intelligence. That means they have more technology than what you are using. But they don't use the languages like Java and all. Chinese never use any programming languages that you are currently using. Their languages are completely different. Their languages are completely in Chinese. So the point here is, the concept here is, you are hearing about few languages like Java, .NET, PHP, Python, something. Why you are hearing about only these names? In entire software industry, only these are present. So many are present. Then why people are not aware of other things? Because they are not standard. They are not some stable. They might have some issues. Remember, there are so many programming languages in the world which even you may not heard about them, but somebody may be using them. Somebody may be using them. For example, so you know, there is a programming language called Go. Have you heard about that? Go programming language. There is a programming language called Go. So the official website I will show you. Yeah. This is Go programming language. This is a programming language. But very few of you may know about this. But do you know, this is the very famous language used by Google for artificial intelligence. Internally, Google uses this language. Google completely built on this Go language. You may not know about that. Right? Google's complete artificial intelligence is built with a language called Google. Currently, IITs are learning this language. Then why you don't know about them? Why everybody don't know about them? Everybody is not learning because currently the usage area is less. That is the reason everybody don't know about them. And not only that, usually software industry will use the programming languages and technologies which are certified. Which are certified. Certified by whom? Certified by software communities. We have software communities like you might have heard about ISO, IEEE, ISO, IEEE, Six Sigma, CMM, so many, ECMA, ANSI. You know, you heard about them. These are the communities. These communities put some standardization. They say that this language, if you can use, this is safe. If you try another language, this is not safe. It may have some virus infection, or it may lead to some security issues. Like that, which technology to use for internet based applications, that is decided by a group called W3C. That means W3C decides, W3C promotes, and W3C recommends certain technologies. Those technologies only our developers use in software companies for building applications for web. That means there are so many technologies in the world which you can use for building web applications. But we will not go with other technologies until or unless they are recommended by a community called W3C. So who maintains the standards of web? W3C. Maintaining standards means they will recommend, for this purpose use this technology. For this purpose, these are alternative technologies. You can choose any. That means they will say that for front end, you try React or Angular or Vue or something, because these we already certified and these are good. They are not having any issues. If you try any another technology other than what they recommend, then majority of threat is your website will be blocked. It will go into out of internet. People call it as dark net. Have you heard? That means it will go out of internet. Nobody can see. It becomes an illegal website. That is the reason when we are building an application, we have to follow the standards. And for web application, which standards we are following? W3C. This is the official website of W3C. W3C. This is the official website of W3C. W3.org. This is the official. These people maintain the standards of web. This is the community which maintains the standards of web. So if you want to know which technology is good for developing web applications and what are the limitations, you can read their documentation. If you read the complete documentation, they will update. And what they do is every few months, some new technologies they certify and they will add those technologies into their list. That is the reason actually web have several versions. The latest version of web is web 3, which many people even don't know. Many people don't know what is the version of web. The current version of web is web 3. In many interviews, they ask this question. You said that I am a web developer, because Java, .NET, PHP, all these people are finally what kind of applications they will be building? Web. If you are a web developer and you say that I am developing applications for web, in interviews they ask a question, which version of web you know? So the web latest version is web 3. Currently now we are in the generation of 3. If anyone asks what may be the difference between web 2 and web 3 and web 1, the technologies that we use for developing applications, some are deprecated, some are newly added. The standards, the rules will change. Those we are going to learn while learning the technology. We will understand about them. So 3 points are very important. Who developed the concept of web? Tim Berners-Lee. Who maintains the standards of web? W3C. What is the latest version of web? Web 3. That's enough. This is the basic thing you should know, right? Now, after understanding this, now we need to know some more important terms. So we need to understand some more important terms. What are the basic terms? Let's see. Means now we need to understand what is HTML. So what is HTML and why we need this HTML? Where this HTML is recommended by web, right? That is the key point here. First important concept is HTML actually stands for hypertext markup language, right? HTML stands for hypertext markup language. Now the first question is, what is meant by hypertext? What is the meaning of this concept? Hypertext markup language. Let's see. Actually, hyper is a general term. For example, we have a kid and he is very active. Then we say hyperactive, right? Hyper means actually hyper means beyond. Hyper means beyond. That means hyperactive means he is beyond active. He is more than. So hyper is a word which means hyper means beyond. Hyper means beyond. I will show you here. Actually, suppose I am opening here Amazon. When I open Amazon, it is showing some information to me. Is this only the information Amazon having? Is this only the information Amazon having? No, Amazon is having lot of details beyond this. Am I right? Amazon is having lot of information beyond what we see. That means you see there is a text called mobiles, na? There is a text called mobiles. And when I touch that mobiles text, that means it will take me beyond what it is. That means when I click on this mobiles, what will happen? It will take me beyond this and it will show me details about the mobile. So this text which takes me beyond what I see, this is called as hypertext. That is called hypertext. Many people have some wrong idea about it. Some people say angle bracket is like hypertext or something else is hypertext. It's a general term actually. Hypertext means the text which can take you beyond what you see. It can take you to the location beyond what you see. That means it has more to show you other than what you are watching. So what is the meaning of hypertext? Hypertext means the text that takes you beyond what you see. That is the meaning of hypertext. That is the first word you need to know. So hypertext refers to the text that takes user beyond the content what he views on screen. So hypertext refers to the text that takes user beyond the content what he view on screen. That is a very general concept, hypertext. Hypertext means it is the text which will take the user beyond the content what he is currently watching on screen. That is a simple meaning actually, hypertext. Then next point is, what is meaning of markup language? What is the meaning? Everybody understood hypertext means? Right. So what is the meaning of markup language? The meaning of markup, actually markup is also a general term. Let's see. Markup is general term means, I will show you a simple thing. Suppose we are having a software like MS Word. In MS Word, we are preparing some letter. So we have some to address and some salutation, subject and all these, and closing here, some letter we are defining. We are creating a letter. And I hope you people know the page size generally. For example, it is having 11 inches height and it is having some 8.5 inch width. Usually people call it as legal letter size. You know A4 size, right? This is called legal letter size. Generally, letters are prepared with the size of 8.5-inch width and 11-inch height. So in MS Word, we prepared a letter on a page with the size 11 inches and all. Now I need to print this on a printer. I need to print on a printer. On a printer, we have to print this letter. That means we are having a printer device. On this, we need to print. And a paper is given to us. This paper is some company's letterhead. If it is company letterhead, already it is having some logo at the top. It is having some address at the bottom. Am I right? And actually, different company letterheads have different size. Suppose this letterhead have 10 inches height and it is having 7 inches width. That means what you designed on screen and where you have to print, both are not same. Now, if I print this letter on this paper, can it print correctly? No. What will happen? It will miss the margins. Some content will go outside. It cannot present correctly how we are expecting. Then do you know what we have to do? We have to listen to the word. We have to mark up. Understood? We have to mark up the margins. We have to mark up the margins in such a way that it matches the exact paper, so that it can present correctly on paper. So what is the meaning of the word markup? What is the meaning of the word markup? We are marking up our information to present correctly. So markup language is a language which is used for presentation. We present our content correctly on screen by using a language called markup language. So there is lot of difference between programming language and markup. C, C++, Java, C#, all these are programming languages. But HTML is not a programming language. HTML is a markup language. Markup language means it is a language which is used for presentation. That means its main responsibility is presentation. Now in MS Word, we are designing something, and to print correctly on the paper, we are marking up the content. So here we are marking up the content to present on paper. But in web, we mark up our content to present on browser. What is the target? Where we present our information? Generally, websites are viewed on a software tool called browser. Am I right? That means Chrome, Firefox, Safari, Edge. We use browsers. That means markup language is a language which is used for preparing your information to present correctly on browser. So actually observe one simple thing. You don't worry what I am typing here, what I am doing. Just observe, because you will learn this in the next level. In the next level, I will show you how to install, setup and all. We will see that. Just observe the concept. Just observe one new concept here. Suppose I'm adding here something. Just see the concept here roughly. I will add some close all. See, I'm showing you a simple web. Yeah. So here I am writing some content. So HTML. And am I using any language? I am not using any language, and I am trying to present it in browser. And you can see that it is going to present this on browser. You can see it is presenting on browser. many people have a wrong idea, wrong information. Like if you ask why you are learning HTML, then many people have a definition like, sir, HTML is only the language which browser can understand. That's the reason we have to use this language. No, browser can understand not only HTML, it can understand plain text. Am I using any HTML here? No. Browser can understand ordinary text also. It can understand images. It can understand PDF, right? That means it's never say that browser can understand only HTML. That is wrong point. Browser can understand simple plain text also. But see what happened now. What I am doing here, I am writing here markup language. And I am keeping this HTML in the center. The markup language here. That's what I am defining. Now I am saving this. It is kept in the center. I am refreshing and watching in the browser. It is not presented in the same way how I am expecting. That means without a markup language also we can present. But the presentation will not be as expected. Then what is the developer's responsibility? To design the content in such a way that it is presented exactly how client wants it. That means now which language come to picture? Markup language. That means now see what I am doing. With the help of a markup language, I am writing like this. You don't worry, just see the point here. By using a markup language, I am writing like this. Center, okay, and break. And now you can see that I am able to present exactly how I am expecting. So that means without HTML, can you design a web page? Yes, you can. We do that in real world. Lot of presentations we do without HTML. Simple message, simple text presentations, error messages simply we do without HTML. We don't use any language. Because browser have the ability to present normal content, we can do that. But we cannot present exactly how we are expecting. That is the reason we need help of a language which can present correctly. So what is the role of a markup language? What is the role of a markup language? It is a language used for presentation, so that we can present the information exactly how we are expecting. Can we present without markup language? Yes, but it is not expected to have the same output every time. So we mark up our information. For that, we need a markup language. So hypertext means the text that takes beyond, and markup means markup is the term derived from marking up, which refers to presentation, So markup language is a language used for presentation. So HTML is a markup language. HTML is a markup language. So you can simply say that HTML is a presentation language. HTML is a presentation language. So HTML is a markup language. So presentation language. What is difference between programming language and markup language? What is difference between a programming language and a presentation language? Actually, programming language can interact with you. A programming language can handle communication between user and application, but presentation language cannot. It can only present. That means by using HTML, you can design a button. but you cannot make the button work. You cannot make the button respond to your request. For that, you need help of another programming language. And that programming language is JavaScript. Right? So HTML is not a programming language. It is a presentation language. It is just used for preparing presentation. That is the meaning of HTML. So the point about HTML is angle brackets, tags, and all these, don't involve them in the meaning of HTML. HTML is very simple, hypertext markup language. It is a language used for preparing presentations so that we can present the content correctly on browser. That is the meaning of HTML, right? I hope everyone is clear, right? Next important, now you are clear about two things. One is web, another one is HTML. Next, we will see evolution of HTML. Evolution of HTML. That means how actually HTML started and currently what we are going to learn. The basic history, a simple overview. Actually, the simple history is CERN Labs. CERN is Council for European Research and Nuclear. CERN Labs. These people developed, CERN Labs developed a language called GML, Generic Markup Language. They developed a language called GML for internet. So in internet, for presentation, they developed a language called CERN. CERN is very popular. Even Bill Gates, Tim Cook, all these people came from CERN Labs only. Right? Dennis Rich, Ken Thompson, all these belong to CERN Labs. Right? You know Dennis Rich, Ken Thompson? Huh? Yeah, people who invented languages like C. Tim Berners-Lee also came from CERN Labs. So Brendan Eich came from CERN Labs. Brendan Eich is father of JavaScript. He invented JavaScript. All these people came from the concept of CERN, Council of European Research and Nuclear. This is CERN Labs. These people invented a language for presentation, and for internet, first time it was used. And its name is what? GML, Generic Markup Language. After that, CERN improved GML with more features and introduced as SGML. Later they introduced as SGML, which is Standard Generic Markup Language. First it was GML, after that it was SGML. They added some more features and they developed another language called SGML, Standard Generic Markup Language. So when internet started, in the beginning of internet, the presentations was done by using which language? GML and SGML. GML and SGML. After that, in early 1990s, in early 1990, Tim Berners-Lee introduced HTML also. He developed the concept of web and also a language called HTML. HTML was introduced by Tim Berners-Lee. But HTML was not a new invention. HTML was adapted from the languages called GML and SGML. But it was a revolution for web. It has a lot of features. It has more lightweight abilities when compared to GML and SGML. So entire world started using this HTML as a markup language. And it was introduced by same Tim Berners-Lee. Tim Berners-Lee developed web and he developed the language called HTML. After that, what happened is IETF, Internet Engineering Task Force. Engineering Task Force. IETF, Internet Engineering Task Force, developed HTML up to version 3.1. After HTML, Tim Berners-Lee introduced HTML, but he left it as open source. Open source means anybody can take it and they can add new features and develop it. Then these people took the responsibility of HTML, IETF, Internet Engineering Task Force. These people started developing HTML. They added several features to HTML. They improved HTML version by version 1, 2, 3, up to the version 3.1. Up to version 3.1. After that, what happened is in early 2004, what WG took the responsibility of HTML and started evolving HTML. So in early 2004, these people took the responsibility of HTML and they started developing HTML. So HTML, the development of HTML, first it was introduced by Tim Berners-Lee. After that, improved by IETF. After that, from 2004, what WG, Web Hypertext Application Technology Work Group. These people took the responsibility of HTML. What WG is a community, Web Hypertext Application Technology Work Group. These people took the responsibility of HTML from 2004. Even today, it is maintained by this group. That means now the HTML that we are using in the current generation, it is still under the maintenance of what WG. These are the people who are responsible for HTML now. The HTML that we are using all over the world, everywhere, that belongs to, that is developed and maintained by a community called what WG. Even today, they are under control. It is under the control of what WG. And the latest version, that means what WG started with HTML4 and latest version is HTML5. That means from 2004 they started HTML, and actually in 2014 they released this HTML5. HTML5 they introduced in 2014, means during 2014. From 2014 onwards, so everywhere we are using this HTML5. The current latest version of HTML is HTML5. That is the latest version of HTML, right? So usually the concept of the evolution of HTML is this. That means which version of HTML currently we are going to learn? HTML5. That is the latest version of HTML. But still in companies, several companies may be using HTML4. Just because, see, you are excited about learning the new versions, right? But companies are not interested in using every new version released immediately. It will take a lot of time. Suppose you may be learning, suppose Java. Which Java version you are learning? What is latest version of Java? 21. Upcoming. Which version you are learning? So why not latest? Or okay, you are learning at least 17. If you go to companies, some companies say we are using Java 8. Java 8, Java 13, something. That means now you ask like, why you are not using latest? Then they will ask like, why should I use? You will say that there are some new features. He will say that I don't want them. Right? For example, you are using current Windows version is Windows 11. Many people have still Windows 10. Many people still may have Windows 7 or 8. If I ask, why don't you update to Windows 11? Then you may ask me like, why should I update? I will say that some new features are there, and he will say that I don't want them. My work is already going on in this version. I am satisfied with this. And if I install new version, I need some more memory then. Suppose new version needs more memory, more features. My PC doesn't support, then I will still use old version. Right? That is the reason every new version is not immediately used or adapted in companies. You get prepared with new versions, but you should know old version also. Otherwise, you will unable to handle the issues in the project certain times, because some companies may be still working with old version. See, as per latest census, every day on internet, minimum 1 million new websites are coming. Every day, minimum 1 million new websites are added to internet. Every day. Now imagine 10 years we used HTML4. 10 years we used HTML4. Then how many websites may be designed by that? That means currently even HTML5 is latest. Currently 80% of internet is completely occupied, 80% with HTML4 only. Now people are updating and new websites are being developed by using HTML5. But lot of web is already occupied with HTML4. So you need to know both versions. Otherwise, when you go to work for companies, sometimes they may be working in old version, and you try the new options inside them, they will not work. So you should know both 4 as well as 5. We are going to learn both of them. That means HTML4 features as well as 5. We will start with 5 directly. But when we discuss any option, we will discuss whether it is there in 4 or not, in which version it is added, so that by the end you will have a clarity on both 4 and 5 versions. So this is the evolution. So before HTML, which language was used for markup? GML. So after GML, SGML. Developed by which group? CERN Laboratories. These people developed it. And who developed HTML? Tim Berners-Lee developed HTML. Who improved HTML versions? IETF. And who took the responsibility of HTML? WhatWG. Now HTML is under the control of WhatW. You see, this is the official website of WhatWG. This is WhatWG.org. These people are maintaining evolving HTML since 2004. This is the community. If you want to know about internet, if you want to know about HTML correctly, you have to visit this website, not W3 schools. Understood? To know about HTML correctly, so you have to learn from the people who built it. Right? Many people, while learning technology, come with a lot of suggestions and a lot of requirements. Like they will come and ask like, sir, in a YouTube channel, I have seen somebody told about this like this. We don't care about YouTube channels or any websites in the world. Even that YouTube video is having 500 million views, we don't care about him. We don't care. Why? Because the point is what the people developed. That means what people who developed saying about it. That is only the correct point we have to take. We never care about anybody else in the world. So you never come with that kind of questions like, sir, in YouTube, sir, in that website, sir, in this website, I have seen definition like that, definition like this. We don't care. Why? Because our every definition will be as per what WG. So no controversy, no nonsense, right? That means the definitions that we are going to learn in this class, every definition I will be giving from what WG standards. So we never care about the definitions given in any website, and I don't even want to listen to that because we don't care, right? Who that website is, so who that YouTube channel is. So whenever anybody told you about any definition, first go to the source who developed it and see what they are saying. That means, is anybody great than the person who developed it? That means sometimes you people may have idea like my faculty is 25 years experienced faculty in industry. Whatever he says is correct. That means he is greater than the person who developed technology. Then that means if Tim Berners-Lee is teaching HTML, will you attend his class or my class? You will not come to my class. Huh? No? Even you attend his class, next day you will come to my class only because you can't understand him. Because those people speak very high level technology language, which general people can't understand. That is why other websites, YouTube channels are popular. Why? Because they simplify the topic and make you understandable, right? If this website is the original website, which provides all information about HTML, you see, it provides everything about HTML. You click on this and you see it provides everything about HTML. Everything A to Z, every option about HTML tutorial. This is tutorial. Every concept about HTML officially provided by the people who built HTML. That means this is the correct. Any website have to take information from these people only. But what they do is to make you easily understand, they simply bluff topics sometimes. They will change the definition so that you can easily understand. But the core concept is same. So we always have to follow the standards of this. And you see the last updated is 4 July. Right? That means it is updated today. That means you see websites, YouTube channels 1 year back posted something. 5 months back posted something. This is up to date. Every concept detail you can get here. So always get an habit of learning a technology related definitions and information from the people who officially built it, not other sources. So if you are unable to understand the official source, then take help of other source to simplify that. But you should always follow the main, right? So HTML is built and maintained currently by a group called what? WG. So we will follow the standards of what? WG, HTML. So which version of HTML we are going to learn? HTML5. I hope everyone is clear. So 3 points. One is what is web, another one what is HTML, and what is the evolution of HTML. Now we need to understand next thing is how this actual HTML works, and practically how to set up all the environment to work, and how do we handle all this. We will see that. Remember, without knowing all this, you cannot directly go into practical. First, you should know the theoretical definitions and all, then we can start practically working on them. So first thing, we are clear which version of HTML we are going to learn. So which version of HTML we are going to learn? HTML5. So how this HTML works, that architecture we will see. For that, first you need to understand about what is browser. How this HTML works, how websites works, the basic thing you should know. For that, you need to know what is browser. I hope everybody knows what is a browser. What is a browser? Browser is a software tool used by the users on internet to access hypertext documents and view them. That means websites are designed by using hypertext documents. Web is designed completely with hypertext documents. Web is designed by using hypertext documents. And to view hypertext documents, you cannot use Notepad, WordPad, or MS Paint. You need a separate software for that. And that software is what? Browser. So technically, what is browser? It is a software tool used by users to view hypertext documents. Hypertext documents that present content on web, that present content on web. So that is the reason we also call them as web browsers. Web browser or browser, anything is same. So it is a software tool used by users to view hypertext documents that present content on web. On internet or web, whatever content is presented, that we can view through a software, and that software is browser. And you people know, so the various browsers, can you name them? We have different browsers, like what? Chrome, we have like Firefox, we have like Safari, right? So we have like Edge. Edge is, all these are different types of browsers. Internet Explorer dead. So from January 2023, so Internet Explorer officially dead. It is removed by Microsoft and it is not recommended to use anymore. That means if you still have Internet Explorer in your computers, don't use that. It is officially removed. It is officially discontinued in web as per web standards. Means as per W3C. I told you W3C, na? W3C officially recommends that no more Internet Explorer to use on internet. It is not safe and it is not good for modern web. So officially it is removed now. These are all the browsers. So there are various types of browsers, you can use them. What is the purpose of browser? Browser is used for viewing hypertext documents. Now the key thing here, you need to understand how this browser works. So browser architecture, which many people don't know. This is very important. Generally at experience levels, we have to know all these points. As a fresher, majority people don't know browser architecture. But at experience levels, we need to know the browser architecture. And as a fresher, if you know browser architecture, that is very, very good, because this is very important for web design. So browser architecture means how actually a browser works. What are the contents in browser? That means, for example, see, I will open here a browser. This is Edge. I am opening a browser called Edge. Edge or Chrome or Firefox browsers are present. Now, generally, questions are classified into two types. For freshers and experienced people, how questions are asked. First, remember this point. For freshers, the question is always about concept. And for experienced people, the question is about architecture behind the concept. That means for a fresher, they will ask, what is a browser? Name some browsers. For experienced people, they ask, tell me how browser works. Explain its architecture. For example, you are learning some Java. They will ask, for a fresher, they will ask, what is JVM? Right? You will say Java virtual machine, what is its role? Now for experienced people, they ask, what are the components in JVM? Components inside compiler. That means inside the compiler, what are the components available? which everybody don't know, but an experienced person should know, because in interviews they will face these kind of questions. That means at experience level, we should know the architecture behind the concept. Fresher knows the concept, experienced people knows the architecture behind the concept. How the browser works, I will show you. See, this is the basic browser architecture. Usually, every browser internally contains this. This is the browser architecture. So this is the browser architecture. This is the official browser architecture. Every browser in the world contains this. Internally, a browser comprises of these things. So browser have so many things. So what are the concepts? I will show you. That means what are these? We will see. I will explain these points. So every browser in the world comprises of these things. Let's see what these are. In the browser architecture, so you have user interface, UI. UI is nothing but the interface of browser. Interface of browser means browser have title bar, browser have address bar, browser have shortcut buttons, browser have extensions. Have you seen? You know, na? For example, you see browser. Do you know the parts of this UI? This is called as this is called as title bar. You know that? And what is this one? This is called as, this is address bar. This is address bar. And you know this one, this is what? This is favorites, na? Favorites, or we call them as bookmarks. You know this one, it is called extensions. You know, these are shortcut buttons. You know, this entire white space, this is called workspace. This is called browser UI. In the browser UI, it contains a title bar, it contains an address bar, it contains shorthand buttons, it contains extensions and favorites, it contains workspace. Workspace is the location where we see everything, right? So this is the browser UI. We call it as browser user interface. And very important, every browser have an engine which is responsible for, browser engines are responsible for translating your HTML. That means whatever you write in English, they are not understandable to browser. You know, every programming language is not directly understandable to machine. It need to be converted into binary. Every programming language have a compiler, na? Right? Every programming language is having an engine. So you call Java, people call JVM, Java Virtual Machine, right? It is a runtime engine. .NET people call CLR, CLS, Common Language Runtime Engines. These engines are responsible for translating. What these engines will do, I will explain detailedly. We will see that, right? Usually, every browser have an UI and every browser have an engine. At experience level interviews, they will ask, name some browser engines. There are so many browser engines. Actually, you know the browser Edge. Edge is using an engine called Chakra. Chakra is the name of an engine used by Edge. Firefox uses an engine called Gecko and Spider Monkey. These are the engine names. These are browser engines. Different browsers use different engines. Every browser have their own engines. The popular browser Chrome, it uses an engine called Blink and V8. These are the engine names used by Chrome. And Internet Explorer, which we don't need now. So, and Firefox uses an engine called Gecko and Spider Monkey. Opera uses engine called Blink and V8. Safari uses engine called WebKit and Nitro. Edge using engine called Chakra. Recently, they updated to a engine called Chromium. Chromium is the new engine used by majority browsers now. Very recently, one engine is introduced called Chromium. One of its ability is it can run on many browsers. What is the problem with web designing is every browser have their own engines. Due to that, HTML have browser dependency issues. HTML have browser dependency issues. Browser dependency means you designed for one browser, it may not work in another browser. So a developer should write in such a way that his options run on all browsers. If you try to use any rare type of option, that may not work in other browsers. That is the reason you visit any website. At the bottom of that website, they will mention this website is best viewed on these browsers. Have you seen? Almost every website will show that. That means every website, suppose you see, I'm watching some Inox movies. This is a website. When I open this website, now some people will come with a complaint that this website is not opening properly. The complaint is not on website, the complaint is on the browser. Why? Because see, when I scroll down at the bottom, they have to mention best viewed on these browsers. Best viewed on Internet Explorer 8 plus, Firefox 3.5 or Google Chrome, like that. Every website have to mention that. Why? Because HTML, JavaScript, CSS have browser dependency issue. You designed some good animation, it may not work in some browsers. That is the reason a developer should exactly know which option can run on all browsers, because we don't know which browser user will use. Otherwise, we will recommend the users to use this. For example, you try to open Gmail. When you try to open Gmail on Edge or some other browser, immediately they show a message that better use Chrome. Why? They are saying they are not promoting their browser. They are saying that Gmail is best designed for Chrome only. If you use any other browser, some options may not work properly. So then you cannot complain, because already they recommended that you have to use which browser? Chrome. So this is very important. All this is because of browser engines. Browser engines. Every browser have an engine. What is the responsibility of this engine? Translating your HTML. HTML is translated and it is converted into a presentation. How it is translated? I will explain the flow. How HTML is translated, I will explain the flow. We will discuss about that in the next point, how HTML is translated. But two important one. One is UI. This is the user interface. Another one, browser engine. Browser engine. What is UI? UI is nothing but the user interface that any user will view when he opens browser. It contains title bar, menu bar, and all these things. And what is browser engine? It is an engine responsible for translating HTML. HTML is translated by browser engine. There is one more engine, rendering engine. The difference is this engine translates. After translating, output is presented by rendering engine. Rendering engine responsibility, presentation. Translation is done by one engine and the output is generated by another engine. We call it as what? Rendering. And usually rendering engine, browser engine, both work is managed by one engine only, but they are internally divided. That means we have an engine called Gecko. Gecko is an engine of Firefox, and that engine have both browser engine as well as rendering. Browser engine will translate, rendering engine will present. First, translation should be successful. After translation is successful, output. You know, you write a program, will you see the output of program directly? No. First you have to compile the program. After that, you have to see the output of program, run the program. Am I right? You need two phases, compiling and running. Compiling is done by which engine? Browser engine. Running is done by rendering engine. So every browser have these two engines. Another important is every browser have networking. Every browser have JavaScript interpreter and UI backend. Actually, networking is nothing but networking is responsible for tracking the performance of page. When you open any page in a browser, how much time it is taking, how much time it will still take to load, all that information is calculated by networking. If a page is requested and 2-3 minutes nothing is responding, it will identify that the page is having some problem and reports an issue to you saying that timed out, please refresh again. This is done by whom? This is managed by whom? Networking. Every browser contains networking. Networking is responsible for tracking the performance of page that you are watching on your browser. Website related performance and everything, it is managed by network. Now there is another one. Browser engine translates which one? HTML. JavaScript is translated by JavaScript interpreter. There is a separate JavaScript translator. HTML and CSS, these are translated by browser engine. Browser engine responsibility, HTML and CSS. JavaScript is translated by another one. What is it? JavaScript interpreter. JavaScript interpreter. So in a browser, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, these are under the control of browser engine, rendering engine. Another one is JavaScript interpreter. Next important, you can see there is a UI backend. UI backend. What is meant by backend? UI frontend. UI frontend means you have buttons. For example, I will show you here. The UI, this is browser. This is the front end. There is a refresh button. And there is a back button. Now, when I click this back button, it has to get me the previous page which I visited in this browser. That means now where it keeps that information. That information is maintained in the backend. So the front end will show the screen. The data for front end is maintained in the backend. Like history, like passwords. You know, when you visit a website, you will get some passwords which are auto-filled. Passwords, usernames, mobile numbers, you will see hint which you already typed. Where is that all information present? All that information is present in the backend. Browser have a backend, and important, this backend is connected with this data persistence. Data persistence means data storage. Your passwords, your user IDs, everything is stored here. You know, when you open a website, they will show one pop-up saying that allow cookies. Have you seen? All websites are showing allow cookies. Do you know what allow cookies will do? When you log in, your login information is maintained in a cookie file, so that even you close, you can be still logged in. That is the reason you see when you are using Gmail, you don't sign out. Just close your browser. Next day open, directly Gmail opens. How it remembers your information even you closed. That means somewhere your information is stored. And somewhere your passwords are stored. You know, browser will pop up na? Browser will pop up and say that, do you want me to remember your passwords? Right? That means where it will store all these passwords. So actually data persistent, that is in the backend. Actually, you can see that. See, this is browser. I will right click here. I will open inspect. When we open inspect, you can see in this, there is a category called network. I told you just now network na. There is a category called network. If I open network and visit some website like www.google.com, you see it tracks the performance. It says that how much time it has taken to load, what content it loaded, everything. This is very important for a developer, what it is loading, how much time it is taking to load, because we need to track the performance. If anybody complains that your page is slow, we need to know where it is slow, why it is slow. All that information is managed in this network. And you see there is another one called application. In this application, you can see there is a storage. There is a storage. You see local storage, session storage, so many cookie storage, so many will be there. What we can do is, user is logging in with ID. He wants to remember his ID for the next time without typing. We will save his ID. User is entering a password. We want him to remember his password without typing again. We will save his password. All such thing is maintained in the storage. So every browser comprises of these things. Every browser have these things. This is the basic browser architecture. So what are the points involved in the browser architecture? First thing, what is in the browser architecture? We have user interface. What it is? User interface is nothing but it provides the UI for browser, which includes what it includes. It includes title bar, which includes a menu bar, which includes shortcut buttons, which includes address bar, which includes extensions, which includes favorites, all these things. And all these things, etc. This is all UI. Another important, every browser is having UI backend. It stores the data required for browser, the data required for browser, which includes like user credentials and recently viewed documents, etc. All this is all UI backend. User interface, and you have UI backend. And we have a browser engine. So it translates HTML and CSS. How it translates, that's a big concept which we will see how it works. And we have rendering engine. Rendering engine is, it is responsible for generating output. It is responsible for generating output. Compiling, translating is done by browser engine. Rendering engine is responsible for generating output. So we have JavaScript interpreter. I think many people know interpreter means it is line by line translation. We have interpreter and we have compiler, right? That means it is responsible for translating JavaScript line by line. If you want to translate JavaScript complete at a time, there are separate JavaScript compilers you can use. But browser don't have any compilers. Browser have only interpreters. Then we have network. It is responsible for tracking the performance of page. How much time it is taking, what it is loading. So all that information is network. So another important is data persistence. Actually, it stores the data of browser, data of various websites you access in browser. Actually, it includes cookies, it includes local storage, it includes session storage, etc. Actually, local storage, session storage, you will learn in JavaScript detailedly about them. I will tell a simple example, like suppose you have session storage. Session storage is nothing but, suppose you are using bank applications. Bank applications use always session storage. Session storage means you opened bank application, login into your account, you made some transaction. Until you make the transaction, your information is remembered. Now what happens is you copy that URL and open in another tab, then it will immediately sign out. You leave it for 5 minutes without using, immediately it will sign out. That means it is what? Session. Session means it is not continuous. It will automatically have a certain timeout. That means after few minutes, it will log out automatically. It will delete automatically. This storage is called as session. Until you sign out, it should not go. Then you can use cookies or you can use local storage like that. These are all the concepts present in a browser. This is the browser architecture, how the browser works. Now, I hope everyone understood this, right? So now, can you name some browser engines? So example, that means this is browser engines. Browser engines. What are some browser engines? We have an engine called V8. We have an engine called WebKit. We have an engine called Gecko. We have an engine called Spider Monkey. We have an engine called Chakra. Am I right? Chakra. These are all the engines like Nitro. All these are different engines we are having. These are different types of engines. Browser engines. These are very important. They play the key role in translating HTML and CSS. This is how the browser engine works. Now, once you know this, now how our HTML works in browser, we need to know the HTML processing that we will see in our next session tomorrow. Okay, right? I hope you are clear with this, right? So now tomorrow we will start working with HTML practically. So tomorrow I will show you how to install, what to install, how do we set up everything so that we can start practically working with HTML, right? We will start designing and working with HTML and web pages. All these notes I will upload into a Google Classroom. I will give the Google Classroom code. You make a note about this Google Classroom code. I will just create here. I will share this Google Classroom code to you. This is HTML and JavaScript. Yep. In this Google Classroom, daily notes and whatever architecture diagrams we are discussing, those I will upload into this classroom. Okay. And this is the classroom code. Make a note about that. This is the Google Classroom code I will upload here. You join this classroom code and all the notes will be here. Daily classroom related notes I will upload here. Okay, na? But don't become lazy while discussing. Make a note about the points that is important. Then only you can learn the technology well, right? Not sitting idle. Making a note only makes the technology perfect. Understood? Huh? Right? So I will give the notes, but at the same time, you take down the notes also while we are discussing. Okay, then tomorrow we'll continue. Right, tomorrow we'll start with that. Right.